Today I will be yimmering yippity yapping about Haiti, a country inside the Caribbean. Haiti began as a bunch of people on the island of Hispaniola living together peacefully and happily until the French came along. And the French were like, man, this island looks cool. I'm gonna go import a bunch of black people. I'm gonna go make slavery a big thing here. I'm gonna go have a very small minority of rich people here, and it's definitely not gonna go bite me in the booty. It did come back to bite them because when you have about one slave for every point six Frenchmen or so, no point 0.002 Frenchmen or so, it doesn't add up. How is one Frenchman supposed to beat 50 slaves? So they rebelled, of course. Why would they want to be slaves? And they won, and they became the first empire of Haiti. And then they became a state. Then they had a kingdom era, and then they had the Republic of Haiti. They went through a lot of changes. Then they tried to unify the entirety of Hispaniola between the Dominican Republic and Haiti. They were like, "Hey, you want to be friends?" And they were like, "Okay." And then the Spanish came in and they were like, "Hey, can we have our part of the island back?" And Haiti was like, "Okay." And then they had the second empire of Haiti, which was just another empire of Haiti. Then the United States came in because there was a lot of restlessness in the country. People couldn't trust their government because their government was doing bad things and they could barely do anything. Because did I mention that when the French finally were like, okay, Haiti's independent, they made Haiti pay a lot, and I'm talking a lot of money to the French to just have the French consider them existing, like a lot, like 90% of their taxes went to paying back the French, just for the French to acknowledge that they existed. But because France was a major power back then, not so much these days, they kind of needed to. So yeah, they had to spend like 90% of the stuff on that, which is why people hated the Haitian government and blamed the empire for Haiti getting cooked. So the United States came in around 1915 and were like, hey, uh, stop war, no war. And everyone just had to deal with it because the Americans used bigger stick diplomacy, which is where you have the bigger stick, so you're objectively better. After the after the United States forces left in 1934, Dominican dictator used anti-Haitian sentiment, basically like, "I hate Haitians, they suck, boo, boo, boo," and he tried to use that to like make people like him, and it ended up becoming a massacre in which they killed a bunch of Haitians living on the Dominican side of the island, which is a big womp in my opinion. And about 30,000 Haitians were bludgeoned, bayoneted, and then herded into the sea, which was disgusting to say the least. And after that, Haiti had uh, their own dictator called Duvalier, Francois Duvalier, in which he was really into voodoo, so he made like a bunch of a private militia called the Boogeymen, and he made himself the president for life. What that would mean, and then his son became president after he died because he died, and then his son was like, I don't know if this is the best idea for me, and he ended up getting fought and he just left the country for France because he spoke kind of like French. And after Duvalier left, they tried to have their general tried to remake a new council to actually govern the place. They held election on November 1987, and they aborted a bunch of people. Like they just got kicked out after a bunch of inhabitants were shot by the capital, by some of their stuff, by some of their army, and a bunch of elections that were considered fraudulent followed, in which only 4% of the people in Haiti voted, which basically meant that no one voted. Like that's like saying that if inside Canada that it's completely fair to inside a country of 40 million to have only like that would to, like only have like 1.2 million vote for you. vote at all. Like that's not the voice of the people. That's the voice of the 4% that live inside the city who can actually vote, which caused inside for the newly elected president, which was called Leslie Manginot, to get overthrown inside a coup d'état, a French specialty. And then another coup happened after the coup. People tried to set up another country, and it just ended up into an era of people trying to vote, coups arising, people trying to vote, coups arising, and as we are now, that's kind of the current situation of Haiti. They had an election. People were like, "Man, that election sucked." So then they started gangs, and now they have gang wars instead of actual elections, which is causing Haiti to be one of the most worst places to go to. 0 out of 10, don't go to Haiti. I got shot. This is the current flag of Haiti. It's tr- bicolor with blue on the top and red at the bottom. I really like the middle incline of it, where if you see it, it's a palm tree with a bunch of bayonets and a bunch of supposedly Haitian flags with a bunch of cannons, two bugles, a drum, and what I'm assuming is some round shot and some hooks on the ground. I really like this flag because there's a lot of references to French culture here. Like if you see at the top of the palm tree, you see like this little hat there. That was the hat of the French Revolution. Well, yeah, the French Revolution had a hat. That's what they considered like if you're a loyalist, you wear this hat. And I think it's nice that they included that because a lot of the world was influenced by the French Revolution to actually do something about their king because kings kind of boo boo suck, and the only good way for a king to rule these days is through a constitutional monarchy, which is like kind of like how England has it right now. Which I do think is the correct way to have it. Have it be like a symbolic thing, but have it not actually mean anything. There have been some past flags of Haiti. I personally prefer Duvalier version of the Haitian bicolor, in which it splits down the middle and it doesn't have that French loyalist hat, mostly because his regime was a dictatorship. So why would they have that? And then if you see, there are fasci, which is a sign of like dictatorship. It's a famous sign of fascism and dictatorship. And you see how the flags on there are red and black instead of being blue and red. Yeah, I really and another one I like in the Kingdom of Haiti flag, where it's got that royalist look with the Haitian bicolor. I personally prefer the colors of red and black compared to the colors of blue and red because I think blue and red, like it's clear that they've used red and black for much longer, and I feel that red and black, and not many flags use red or black. No, a lot of flags use red, but not many use black, and I like the colors because it's very unique. Haiti is located on the island of Hispaniola, which were split around I would say 70-30, with 30% going to Haiti, and there's also a few smaller islands that are next to it, which are also Haiti. It is around, I would say, if you were to look at a map of Canada and you were to go to Newfoundland and you just put your finger all the way down from the eastern edge of Newfoundland, then just put your finger all the way down, you'll find yourself right in Haiti. The capital of Haiti is Port-au-Prince. Port-au-Prince is located on the coast of Haiti, and it's like a little port, you know. Because of the name, you would assume it's a port with prince in it. Most likely on the prince. It was the main base since the French colonial rule. The city layout has been described in sort of like an amphitheater, and they have a cool coat of arms. My favorite part is probably the lion, because the lion looks like that one meme of like Mr. Incredible, absolutely depressed. Now it's time for some skibbity fun fact. Um, the name Haiti comes from the word Haiti, which means land of mountains. Um, Haiti was once called Saint Domingue, which is confusing because there is a Dominican Republic and it's not Haiti. Uh, Haiti has two languages: Haitian Creole and French are Haiti's official languages. But everyone speaks Creole. Creole is basically like French if it got cooked, just get like it put inside a pot with a bunch of African words. That's basically what Haitian Creole is. Oh yeah, and also Haiti has one of the craziest wealth disparities, meaning that like the very top at the top they have like mega mansion, and the very bottom of the bottom have like legitimately nothing.